Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be filming my eyeshadow collection. I finally feel like I have a solid eyeshadow palette collection with a lot of staples, so I wanted to share it with you guys so you could kind of get a feel of what my favorite palettes are and what I've been using. So with that, let's get into the video. The first two I'm going to share are these two by Juvia's Place. This one is the Nubian palette. It is more warm toned, a lot of goldens, nice matte shades. I do really like their shimmers. They're amazing. So definitely a good palette to get if you're starting out. The other one is the Saharan, and this one is super unique. It's got a lot of cool colors. They've got this nice red shade, this nice crease shade. Their shimmers in this palette are amazing, so I definitely recommend this palette. I haven't used this as much just because you can't really create a whole look with it, I feel like. It's pretty limited, but it is a really unique palette. I'm actually gonna grab some makeup wipes. The next palette I wanted to share with you guys is this one by Violet Voss. It's the Laura Lee palette. It is incredible. I bought this off of Beauty Bay since it has been sold out and she hasn't made others, but I absolutely love this palette. I've only used it a few times, but I've fallen in love with it. I really like this golden shade and this red shade and this like greenish gold shade. It's a nice duochrome. So the mattes are super creamy and pigmented, so this is definitely a good palette to own. My next one is this one. This is the Naked Heat palette. Oh my gosh, this palette is insane. I love warm shadows, and I feel like this really brings out the color in my eyes. The mattes in here are really good. I wish they had some other shimmer shades that weren't as dark. There's these three right here that are pretty good, and there's this dark one, but I wish they kind of had like a medium light one over here to use as well. But other than that, this is a really awesome palette. I really love this shimmer shade. It's a nice like duochrome. It's got like red and gold in it. I don't know if you can see that, but it just looks beautiful on the eyes. So I definitely recommend picking up this palette. It is probably one of my favorite Naked palettes that they've made, so definitely go check that one out. Let's go this guy. This is the Modern Renaissance palette by Anastasia Beverly Hills. This is like a staple in I think everyone's collection. You can get a really nice like berry pinky toned look from this. I wish they did have more shimmer shades. There's these two, and then this one's kind of a shimmer shade, but I think overall this palette is incredible. The Anastasia Beverly Hills has such creamy eyeshadows, like, oh gosh, it's just so pretty, and they're so pigmented, especially the mattes. So I feel like you can't go wrong with this palette. And I did just pick up, I ordered the new Subculture palette, so that should be coming today or tomorrow, and hopefully I'll be doing a look with that. But overall, this palette by them is amazing. Let's go this guy. So this is my Balm Meet Matrimony palette. I think this is a really awesome matte palette. You can get a nice look in there, and if you want to use like a single shimmery shadow, it's really awesome. I can create cool tone looks with this or more warm tone looks on this side, so it is a really nice palette to make some versatile looks, I guess you could say. So definitely go pick that one up. Let's do these guys. So these are my three Maybelline palettes. This was the first palette that I actually ever bought in my collection. It's the Nudes palette. As you can see, I have used it a lot because I have Hit Pan on some shadows. But I think this is just a really great palette. I know some people weren't super in love with this palette, but I do think that if you are starting out in makeup, this is a really great palette to have. You can create a lot of looks with it. It is a good way to start out and kind of get a feel for different eye looks and how to use different shadows. So this is kind of like a staple. The second one that I ever got in my collection was their blushed nudes. And again, same thing. This palette's pretty awesome. I did wish they had more matte shades. I feel like they only have this one right here. But the quality of these shadows are really awesome. They're super buttery and pigmented. I know at first a lot of people didn't like these, but this is kind of the palette that started, you know, the palette trend in the drugstore. So definitely like these. And this one's one of their newer ones. It's the 24 karat nudes. A lot of people don't like this palette, and I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I think the quality is pretty decent. I mean, like, the pigmentation isn't terrible. I just think the stay of the shadows could be a little bit better. But I don't think it's as bad as people are saying, but that's just me. Let's see. Let's go into another drugstore. This is the Maybelline Le Palette Nude 1. Again, I really like this palette. It could have more matte shades. These three are the only mattes, and I wish it did have a darker matte or like a black or a dark brown. But the shimmer shades in here are pretty decent. The mattes in here are super creamy and pigmented. But I think that this palette overall is pretty good if you're, again, starting out in makeup. And it's overall just a pretty good quality palette, and it's pretty inexpensive as well. Alright, let's get these guys out of the way. This is my Morphe 350 palette. I love this palette. I think it's a great staple palette. Everyone in YouTube at least has one Morphe palette, and it's usually this one. The shimmer shades in here are amazing. Their mattes are so pigmented, and it's definitely worth the money, and it's so inexpensive to get a $35 shadow palette. So if you're, you know, into makeup, or, you know, into doing like freelance makeup and stuff like that, this is a good palette to have to do that with. My other Morphe palette is the 35F, the Fall into Frost palette. This is a great fall and wintertime palette. It is, you know, it has this bottom layer of mattes right here, and then all the rest are shimmers. A lot of them are similar. Like, these are all pretty close in shade, and like some of these purples and reds and stuff. But overall, I do think that this is a really good palette. Alright, let's just start on my like insane collection of Makeup Revolution palettes. I'll get this big one out of the way. So this was their 2017 palette. It's their 144 Ultimate Matte Eyeshadows. And oh my gosh, this has every color that you could ever need, ever, in a palette for mattes. It's got these nice rainbow shades right here, and over here, it's like bigger than my face. You know, I feel like this, I don't know, I saw this online and it looked really cool, but once I got it, like, half of these shades you don't need. Like, these are all the same up here. All of these in the middle, like, they're almost all the same shade. They're just one off from each other. But they are extremely pigmented. Like, let's swatch. It's slightly overwhelming, like, looking at them, but it's crazy how almost every shadow in this palette is equally as pigmented. Let's watch one of these rainbow ones. Like, look at that purple. It's just, I don't even know. I think it is a cool palette to own, and like I said, if you are interested in doing like makeup art, you know, it could be a good palette to have, or for like Halloween or costumes and stuff like that. Do I think that it's necessary to have a palette with this many shadows? Absolutely not. Alrighty. This one is kind of a dupe for the Kat Von D palette, Shade and Light palette. This is the Makeup Revolution Ultra Eye Contour Light and Shade. So, you know. But if you're not looking to spend like 50 bucks on the Shade and Light, this is a good alternative. And the pigmentation of these shadows, Makeup Revolution has some crazy eyeshadows, and they're probably some of the most buttery that I've ever had. I got this at Ulta, so it's so inexpensive. Most of their palettes aren't over $15, so definitely check those out if you're, you know, not looking to spend a lot of money. Makeup Revolution is kind of known for its duping, you know, high-end palettes, so definitely check that one out. The next one from Makeup Revolution that I have is their Redemption palette. I got this in their advent calendar that I did this past Christmas, and it's all shimmers, but, you know, it does have a nice range of shimmers, you know, warm, cool. It is definitely more for a smoky look, but the pigmentation of their shimmer shadows is amazing. This one is their Romantic Smoked palette. So you get 6 mattes, 6 shimmers, and I think that the quality of this palette is really awesome. The shimmery ones are just gorgeous. Like, look at that pigmentation. And I got this at the drugstore, so you can't really go wrong with these. They have a lot of good deals online too, and a lot of these are often on sale, so definitely check those out. This one is the Fortune Favors the Brave palette. To be honest, I feel like this palette isn't that great. The shadows, a lot of them are marbled. I don't know if you can see, but it is like a really cool palette and kind of like a collector, you know, palette. But I don't use this on my eyes. Oh, that one's really pretty. I don't use this that often, and I don't know. Maybe I should try it out again. But, like, I don't know. Like, it's a cool palette to own, but I think they could have done better on the quality of the shadows in this one. Here is the rest of my Makeup Revolution palettes. So this is another brand by Makeup Revolution. It's Freedom Makeup, and this is their Innocent eyeshadow palette. This is an actually really good palette. I saw this online, and I hadn't seen this before. And I just went for it, and the shimmer shades in here are really awesome, and the matte shades are great as well, as always. So I think this is a pretty decent palette. It's got a nice sized mirror too, and they always do these stupid overlays, but I really like this palette. This one is their Mermaid Forever palette. It's a little broken. I don't know what happened, but they sent it to me and the lid keeps coming off. This is probably one of the best, like, rainbow colored palettes I've ever owned. I just, like, can't even explain it. The shades in here are so pretty. Like, look at that. Let me swatch. This one's, like, one of my favorite blue ones in here. Holy cow. Like, if you're looking to do a colored look and want some decent shimmer shadows, even some decent matte colored shadows, this is the palette to own. I highly recommend this palette. I don't know what it is about this, but I've always wanted this, and I'm not the type of person to use colored eyeshadow like that, but I love it. This is their Flawless 3 Resurrection palette. They have 3 of them, obviously, maybe more. And I really like this. It's kind of like a nice blush tone palette. It kind of reminds me of a mix of like Naked 3 and Modern Renaissance. You got some nice berry tones down here and crease shades, but I feel like they could have done a little bit better on their shimmer shades, you know. They're all fairly light, and sometimes I do like to have a darker shimmery shade in the mix, so I don't know. It's a decent palette and it's gorgeous, but yeah, the packaging though, I mean, you can see how disgusting it already is, and I just got this. So, oh well. This one is by I Heart Makeup, and this is their Chocolate Vice. So this brand by Makeup Revolution does like dupes for the chocolate bar palettes and stuff like that. So this one, I don't really know what this is supposed to be duping, but It's gorgeous. Like, let me just, that peachy shade is to die for. I don't know what it is about this palette. Like, I feel like you can't create that many looks from it, but it's just like, I don't know, the shades in here are just so pretty, and the shimmery shades are incredible. Like, ugh, I don't know what it is about this palette, but it's just gorgeous. So definitely love this palette. And this is one of their newer ones. This is the Pro Artist Pad. It looks like an iPad, I'm not gonna lie, but it's just like a really good staple palette. It's got some nice, you know, shades. It's very warm toned. You got a lot of golds, a lot of browns, so definitely think it's a good palette, and it does have great quality. And I do really like the packaging on this palette as well. So definitely check that one out. And that's all my Makeup Revolution palettes. Jeez. Let's do these two guys. These are my e.l.f. palettes. This was the first one I got. It's the Everyday Smoky palette. It's not a bad palette. I like to use this for like smoky eyes. They've got these nice gunmetal shades, some nice crease shades, some shimmery shades, and a few mattes. So it is a good palette. I haven't used it as much, but I mostly honestly use it for when I'm gonna do a smoky, like blacked out gray look. So, and this is their Mad for Matte 1 palette, and I feel like everyone on YouTube has this, but it's a good palette. It's, you know, it's just a staple matte palette. They're $10 at the drugstore, so they're not super expensive, and they're pretty good quality. So yep, not much to say about that. This is a new one to my collection. It's from Blink. I got it in BoxyCharm. It's their Electric Eyes palette. And, ow, that hurt. It's hard to open. I always have this problem. So it's all shimmers. I haven't really used it yet, but they're so buttery. And look at that. I don't know. I think they're great shadows, and I've never heard of this brand before, but I'm super glad that BoxyCharm included it in their box for that month. So yeah. Let's go back to let's go to this guy. This is my Lorac Mega Pro 3 palette. I absolutely adore this palette. I bought this last fall, and this thing was my baby. I used it so much. I just think it's a really awesome warm tone palette, and Lorac shadows are incredible. So definitely pick this up if it's still available. I don't even know if it is, but Lorac has the best, like, the softest shadows in the world. Like, I've never felt shadows softer than Lorac's. So they are an amazing brand for eyeshadows. Let's see. This is my palette. A lot of people actually didn't like this palette, which is so surprising to me because I think this palette is great. I do think that it could include more mattes because there's only a few, but the quality of this, I don't know, it's just a decent palette. Like, I don't think it's as bad as everyone thought it was, and I think it's super adorable. I like the concept of it. It is a very, you know, it reminds me of spring, so I do really enjoy this palette. I still use it, you know, even though it's summer, but yeah, it does have some good quality shadows. Let's see. Why do I feel like I'm missing one? Because I am missing one. Where did you go? I'm definitely missing a oh, here it is. Alright. These are my two Studio Makeup On The Go palettes. This one is the Warm Up palette. These were sent through BoxyCharm, and they're really awesome palettes to travel with. So if you're looking for a warm toned, or they have a cool down one, which is definitely more rosy. I really like both of them. I think these are great palettes to travel with. They're nice and small, and you can get a lot of looks out of these. Let's see. This is my Wet n Wild Au Naturel palette in Nude Awakening. I think this is a good palette. I don't think the quality is that great. They're not, you know... Oh, maybe they are. They're softer than I remember. I haven't used this in a while. The mattes are not that pigmented, but the shimmers in here are pretty decent. I don't know. This palette was like $6, so it's definitely not going to break the bank. Do I think this is the best palette? No. Do I think it's okay? Absolutely. This is their other palette, and this palette is amazing. This is their Comfort Zone palette. So you get 8 shadows, and the pigmentation of these, I don't know what it is about this palette, but everybody loves it. I like to use the green in my waterline on my lower lash line sometimes. This warm side is great. They have this really pretty duochrome shadow. Like, I don't know what it is about this, but it's just like the most amazing palette by Wet n Wild ever. And if you can find this, pick it up because it's amazing. Continuing on the drugstore theme, this is the CoverGirl True Naked Goldens palette. This palette has gotten a lot of love. It is amazing. There's only 2 matte shades though, so I think they should have added an extra, you know, dark matte shade, but holy cow, like, the quality of this guy is amazing. Like, I'm barely touching these, and the pigmentation is unreal. Oh gosh, definitely pick this one up because it's amazing. Let's go this one. I haven't gotten to use this one that much. This is the Real Her 2 palette, Do Your Squats. It's kind of on the same lines as a studio makeup palette, but I don't know. I haven't been able to really use it yet. I mean, let's swatch it. Dang, that's not bad. Oh, wow. Can you see that? That's so pretty. I think this would be a good palette. It's not as buttery as the studio makeup, but we'll have to give this one a shot. This is my Tom Ford eyeshadow palette. You just get 4 shimmers in here. Tom Ford is so expensive, and the quality of these shadows are amazing. I think these are so pretty. Do I use it all that often? No, I don't find myself reaching for it as much as I would like to, but it is a really great quality palette. I feel like I haven't even gone through like half my eyeshadows. This is insane. One of the best palettes from the drugstore ever is this Hard Candy Matte Eyeshadow Pro palette. It's kind of similar to the Meet Matrimony palette. Like, there's a lot of similar, let me just show you, shades in here, but you get more than the Meet Matrimony, and it's like $10. So I feel like you can't really go wrong with this. They just glide on super nicely. This is a great palette to travel with because, you know, I don't know what I was just saying. I'm watching One Tree Hill right now, and it's getting good. But anyways, yeah, I think this palette is great if you know, don't want to buy a super expensive matte palette, and Hard Candy did a really great job on this palette. Let's stay on the Hard Candy trend. I think these are the only ones I have. These are my 3 Hard Candy palettes. This one is definitely my favorite. Oh, hello. This one's definitely my favorite. This one is Birthday Suit, and it's just all mattes. Nice brownie nude shades. It is really, really buttery. And the pigmentation on this palette is crazy. So if you see this at the drugstore, pick it up because these are only like $10 each. So this one is the Pinking of You palette. It's alright. I don't reach for it that much. All the shades are pretty much similar. Like all these pink shades are pretty much the same shade. So I don't reach for it that often, but it's got the same quality and it's all shimmers. This one though is the Raining Men palette. Very rainbow-esque. And the colors in this palette are just gorgeous. Like, oh gosh. Look at how pretty those are. So if you're looking for a good, like, colored shimmer palette from the drugstore, again, this one is your friend. Let's go another Tom Ford. This is the Eye and Cheek Compact from a few years ago. Honestly, I just really use this for blush and highlight, but it is an eyeshadow palette, so I do like to mention it. Yeah, it's an expensive palette and I don't reach for it that much. So I just kind of use it for reference. So yeah. This is one of my Z palettes. This is a lot of ColourPop eyeshadows and Makeup Geek. And yeah. I've got, this one's an Urban Decay one. It's one of their highlights. But, I mean, overall, I feel like I've made a great, you know, pink toned palette. I also have this one. It has 6 Ofra shades over here and then a Makeup Geek blush. I don't even know what that is. And this is a Makeup Revolution highlight. But, yeah, so those are my 2 Z palettes. I do want to build up some more custom palettes and stuff like that. Let's go to these ones. So, these 2 Naked palettes are actually from AliExpress. I did a video on this like last year. These were the 2 best quality. I got rid of the Naked one, I think. Ooh. Do I think that they're similar to the actual Naked palettes? No. Do I think that they're still good quality palettes and you can still create some decent looks with them? Yes. The Naked 2 is way better than the Naked 3 that I have, but I don't reach for these all that often, but I do think that they're good to reference them. I'm not gonna swatch them because I don't know, but yeah, they're pretty decent. This one is my In the Buff palette. I'm pretty sure they renamed this palette. I got this at Marshall's. It's by W7. It's kind of a dupe for the Naked one, honestly. So if you're not looking to buy it, they've got, you know, a shade similar to Half Baked. I really like this greeny gold shade. It does have nice mattes, a nice crease shade, so definitely pick that one up. Like I said, you can get it at Marshall's for like super cheap. And this is by Pure Cosmetics. This is kind of a dupe for Naked 3, and it's probably a way better quality than the AliExpress one. I haven't personally used this all that much yet, but I'm hoping to, so I believe they sent this in like a boxy charm, so definitely a decent palette to check out. This is my City Color Harvest Moon palette. I don't use this all that often. It was super inexpensive though, and the shimmers in here are actually pretty decent. They're not smooth at all, but they are insanely pigmented. I really love this gold shade right here and this kind of red, I don't know, like rose gold shimmer shade. The ones over here I kind of don't love, but over here I really do like those 8. Let's see, we've got another AliExpress palette. This is the Chocolate Bar. I don't use this like ever, but the pigmentation is really awesome, and it's actually pretty similar from what I've seen to the actual Chocolate Bar palette. So yeah, the one that I actually do own 2 semi-sweet chocolate bars though, and this, I don't know, I just like these way better. I definitely use this is probably my staple palette right here. I just adore this palette, and it smells delicious, so can't go wrong with these. I also have their Peanut Butter and Honey palette. I don't know. This palette, everyone kind of gave this a lot of crap on YouTube. I think it's okay. You cannot create a whole look. It actually smells like peanut butter and honey, which is crazy. This is the City Color Figtastic palette. Yeah, it's pretty similar to the Harvest Moon palette. It's just more berry toned. I'm not going to talk too much about it. Sweet Peach palette. I feel like I don't have to say that much about it. It's just a great summer palette. It smells amazing. This shade is to die for. If I were to run out of this shade, I would buy a whole nother palette just for this shade right here alone. So that's saying something. I have two more balm palettes, the Nude Dude and the Nude Tude, and I actually don't love these. I think the pigmentation in these and the staying quality of the shadows is absolute crap. They wiped away so fast, they melted off my face, and I just think that they're not that good of quality. So I think if you're looking to get a palette from the Balm, definitely get the Matrimony or the new Matrimony palette, but these two are awful. Two more AliExpress palettes. These are the Lorac Pro 1 and 2. As you can see, I absolutely adore this palette. I hit pan on 2 shades. I use this like every day for the longest time, and I think the quality is like exactly the same to the Lorac palette. This one I wanted to buy just to see if I would like the actual palette, and I didn't. It's not for me. I do like to create some smoky looks with it, but other than that, it's just not a palette that I'm interested in. We've got the Too Faced Christmas collection from last year, the Eggnog Latte, Gingerbread Cookie, and Peppermint Mocha. Each one comes with 6 shadows and a blush. The shadows, I don't know what Too Faced does to their like holiday shades, but they're definitely not as good a quality as their normal ones, so I don't really reach for this all that often. Another one that I just picked up is the Tartelette and Bloom palette. This palette's just a staple. Like, I feel like if you don't own this palette, you should go buy it because everyone and their mother has this palette on YouTube. And it's awesome. Tarte has really good quality shadows. I didn't think that they would at first, but it's amazing. Oh, what is this? Oh, I've honestly totally forgot about this. This is the Makeup Revolution New Trials versus Neutrals. It's just a very blush tone palette. It's kind of just standard. I really like this red shade. I haven't used this all that much, but it's got some decent quality, so definitely will try that one out. Oh, I forgot I had this one. This is the Balm Side palette by the Balm. Again, not a decent palette. I really do like this blue shade here, and I don't know, I just don't think that their shadows are all that great, to be completely honest. This is gonna be a little crazy. These are all my Chi Chi palettes. Let me change my battery really fast. I won't go in depth to them because there's so many. These are an Australian brand. They kind of dupe other similar palettes, so this is pretty similar to the Modern Renaissance. I have their Fresh palette, their Taupe palette, their Sunkissed palette, their Mochas, which does have a lot of mattes. Most of these are all shimmers. Their Bronzes palette, the Spices, and the Sunset palette, which has some really nice, pretty warm tone colors. So those are all pretty nice. Let's see. These Rimmel palettes are the Magnifies. I have the London Nudes Calling and Keep Calm and Wear Gold. Both of these are really awesome. They're both $10 at the drugstore, and if you don't have... Why is this so out of focus? And if you're just looking for a cheap palette to get that's really good quality, Rimmel actually did an amazing job on these. So I highly recommend these palettes. Another drugstore brand that I have been really enjoying their palettes is Essence. They make these little 8-pan shadows, most of which are shimmers. Like this one, this is their bronze palette, but the quality in these shadows for being like $5 is amazing. Like, check that out. So I have the Bronzes palette, the Toffee palette, which is new, and it's actually really good, and the Roses palette. And I have 2 more palettes that I'm actually gonna go through, I think. Yeah, I'm not gonna go through this. This is the Pixie by Petra Copper Peach palette. It's just a cute little shimmery palette. It's really awesome for summer. I love wearing like peachy gold shades in the summertime, or anytime actually, because it really brings out the blue tones in my eyes. So I think this is a really great palette. It wasn't too expensive for Drugstore, and I do think it is a really good quality, so yep. And this is probably, I actually don't, this is, so this is by Physicians Formula. It's one of their bronzer palettes, but it's so shimmery that I use it as eyeshadow, and it's gorgeous. Like, oh god. This one's my favorite, this peachy one down here. It's just to die for. Like, look at that. So, if you're looking for a nice, pretty, bronzy golden palette, this one is amazing, and it's so cheap. So that is all of my eyeshadow palettes. That was insane. There's so many. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I promise I'm going to start posting more. Hopefully some back to school videos, but yeah, I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel, and I really appreciate you guys watching. Thanks so much. See you next time.